Hello, my name is Christy Blyzeffer, and thank you for joining us at another P&Q for Undergrads admissions panel. Thank you for joining us today, and if you have any questions, please let us know in the chat. I want to welcome our two panelists, Chanel White, Assistant Dean and Director of Divisional Advising at the Farmer School of Business at Miami University in Ohio. Welcome.
Thank you, Christy.
And Megan Ray, Director of Admissions at the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University. Welcome, Megan.
Hello.
All right, well, we're going to hop right in. And if you guys would just each start by telling us a bit about your school, its mission and values, location, reputation, etc. And Chanel, we'll start with you.
Great, thank you so much. So the Farmer School of Business is located in beautiful Oxford, Ohio. And as Robert Frost said, it was the prettiest campus there ever was. So we are delighted to call the Farmer School of Business behind me here our home. And we are really thrilled to focus on a diverse undergraduate education. So our students, we are deeply committed to that undergraduate experience, and our faculty really care about that undergraduate teaching. Some of the really incredible features are a first-year integrated core with a client-based project in that very first year. So we like to give a lot of shots on goal here in the Farmer School.
That's great. Megan, how about you?
Absolutely. So the Kelley School is located in Bloomington, Indiana, which is about 4.5 hours south east of Chicago, so in the Midwest. And as an institution, we have around 37,000 students in total. Kelley makes up around 9,500 of those undergraduate students. We're a very large undergraduate school business program and have all the resources that go with it in that process. The things we value and look for in students that we talk about pretty frequently are these three main characteristics: that our students are super talented, right? They really are great. That can be challenging, right? Because they come in, and if you're in a room of greats, are you any less great than you were before? That can be a little rough. They are super tenacious, right? They work really, really hard, and they have this amazing humility. So Kelley students are really known for asking for that constructive feedback and then implementing it right away to help each other.
Absolutely. That's great. We'll just stick with you, Megan, for the next question. Why should students explore pursuing an undergraduate business degree? What would you say is the future value of that business education and the true value of the business education?
Sure. So I think the true value is what it's going to be in the future, quite frankly. It prepares a student to walk into almost any kind of role and be more successful at that because of the skills that you've accumulated during that time. Whether you were going to be an art gallery owner, or someone who's working as a consultant, or someone who is deciding to do a startup, all of those things have attributes that are needed that we're going to teach you in a business education experience. And the growth models from the U.S. Department of Workforce, like the Labor and Workforce Department, it only shows an upward trajectory in terms of those opportunities. So, and those were stats before COVID. So I can't even imagine what they are going to be like right now.
Absolutely. Everything's going to change, correct? Yeah. Chanel, what about you?
Yeah, absolutely. We're preparing students for careers that do not yet exist. So we have ever evolving programs in the Farmer School, and the value of an undergraduate business education here is truly incredible. We're preparing students not only for job one, but to be beyond ready to be the leaders in that future career. So our students are developing those skills that are going to equip them for a lifetime of experience in business and really propel and accelerate their careers after job one. So our students leave here beyond ready and have a number of those client-based experiences to draw from and to really share in those first interviews.
Yeah, very good. Chanel, how has the undergraduate program evolved in recent years to stay on top of the big trends from data analytics to digitization? I knew I was going to have trouble with that word. And what are the skill sets your program emphasizes to respond to an evolving global business landscape?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So our students are going to have coding in their very first year. So they're going to dive deeply into a client data set through the first year integrated core. They're going to learn coding skills, and it's really unique for a first year student to sign that non-disclosure agreement and to walk away from that experience using real client data. So that's an incredibly unique experience here in the farmer school. They're going to build on that data throughout their time in the farmer school. So they're going to take 13 credit hours in data analytics and really hone and develop those skills throughout their time. Then they're going to have an opportunity to continue to hone on those. So, for example, this week we've got a cyber forum, and that's not just for students in our analytics program and our information and cybersecurity program, but that's for students of all industries. It's really something that our faculty, are deeply invested in, and it relates to all facets of business, from data warehousing and security all the way through the more technical components that they're going to be engaging in. The nature of work is changing every single day. More than 65% of farmer school students study abroad during their time. And so we're really preparing students for that global business environment and giving them those hands-on learning experiences, immersing in other cultures.
Yeah, Megan, same question.
Sure. So there's a couple different pieces, tagging in on the global component. One of the things that Kelley has done since the degree renovation in 2012 was to put international education front and center. So they developed this amazing course that students apply for in the sophomore year. And if selected, they take a class in the spring semester of the sophomore year that runs for half the semester. And then when it concludes, they go to the country that they have been studying. So, which I think is a really incredible way to put that kind of theory and book learning, as it were, into practice. And the students who go on those trips range all the way from folks who are international students, so this is just a second study abroad for them, to students who this is their first time in the airplane. So I think one of the key things about the way our faculty have designed our curriculum is that it's accessible, right? Like, we're going to take students wherever they're at and are going to walk them through the process of getting them ready for that next piece. So we've worked really hard on both of the dimensions of the student experience, including the extracurricular component and the academic component. So in the academic piece, we've introduced several new co-majors over the last 5 years, including a business analytics program, an international business program. We have a professional sales co-major coming online this fall. All of these things where our faculty have talked with recruiters and employers. They're hearing, hey, students need these skills, they need this information, they need this background. What can you do to get them ready? And the faculty develop another program. So it's one of the reasons why we have 12 primary major programs and then another 7, 8 co-major programs, so students can double major really, really easily within the Kelley School. In terms of the extracurricular components, we have a very robust student life and student experience team here in the Kelley School. And one of the things that we've really prioritized over the last 3 to 4 years is student mental health and wellness. And that is something that I've been really, really impressed to see develop through the school. We have a balance room now where students can go and rest in between classes that's completely technology free. We have a failure summit every year where students come in and talk about failing, because it's going to happen. And so we want students to be ready for that so that they can very quickly adapt and move to the next experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. Megan, when you're assessing applicants, you are, of course, looking for solid academic credentials and test scores. But beyond that, how do you assess fit with the personality and the demands of your program? What are you looking for in candidates in not only the test scores and GPA, but the soft skills that are more subjective?
Absolutely. So that comes into play when we have a student who utilizes our petition for direct admission program, right? Direct admission being the opportunity that a student has when they enter the university as a first-time freshman, they're guaranteed to be able to pursue the major, right? And you're absolutely right, Chrissy. We have set criteria for the automatic component that are just academic. But then we also have this process by which we ask the student to give us a statement about what their experience has been and to provide us with any additional comments. And that's when we can find out a little bit more about them, like what is bringing them to this place. And sometimes they're telling us about their academic experience, and sometimes they're telling us about the fact that they are starting a business, and what that business is going to be like. And those are the kinds of things that I really appreciate. And there isn't, and I love this about the school, there is not one set category of things that, like, if you check this, like, oh, you're going to be successful outright, right? There really is a look at these students in a comprehensive way so that we can create a class of students that are not only going to be really talented, exhibit that humility, have that tenacity, but who are truly going to engage with each other. Right? Because this is a really collaborative program. We are not a competitive program. Like, the students will work really hard and do really well, but they will readily tell you they are trying to help each other. And I think it's true of our students. What we're trying to identify is, are you going to be one of those folks who gets on board with our idea of the high tide raises all boats? Because that's who we want to bring into our community.
Yes, absolutely. And Shadell, same to you. How does Farmer assess those soft skills and fit with the program?
We're looking for really talented, well-rounded students. So we know that students in high school probably engage in a myriad of experiences, and we want them to continue that during their time here in the Farmer School. So they are demonstrated leaders in their high school experience, and we are going to propel them to the next level here in the Farmer School. So we are looking for those holistic and well-rounded students. We want students who kind of have that entrepreneurial mindset. All of our students are going to take an entrepreneurship course in the very first year. They're going to focus on communication, collaboration, team building, whole brain thinking. And so they're going to build on those skills here. And so we know that students are going to have the opportunity to grow and learn and develop in the Farmer School. So we're going to take those diamonds and polish them a little bit more here throughout the Farmer School experience.
I love that, polishing the diamonds. So Chanel, staying with you, what would you say sets Farmer apart from other schools?
Absolutely. I think there's three things. One is our deep commitment to undergraduate teaching. Our courses are taught by real faculty. They're not taught by graduate assistants. Our faculty are not here because they're here to supervise doctoral dissertations or work with master's students. They're here because they are truly and deeply committed to the undergraduate teaching. They are passionate, certainly in their fields, and also about the students that they work with. So I was at a presentation last week, and I had a faculty member that I was working with, and he was standing in the back of the auditorium. He said, "Can I borrow your phone?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he takes a picture of a student. He texts it to her because he says, "This is a student that I had in my first year as a teacher here." And he is still deeply connected with her. That's just one example of the kind of commitment to undergraduate teaching. They fostered a relationship 4 years ago, and that has maintained throughout their time here at Miami. So undergraduate teaching, the first year integrated core, as I mentioned, it's a client-based project. Students are going to engage in that real world data in the very first year. They're going to work in teams to solve a client problem. So they're really going to get to jump into that in their very first semester. And then the top teams will present to those C-suite executives and 700 of their closest friends. So it's a unique experience to get to have as a first year student. And third, hands-on learning. So we have incredible opportunities for students to get involved in business organizations, to have those leadership experiences, to develop those skills that they're going to talk with employers about, and to do the study abroad and internships all throughout their time here in the Farmer School. So incredible opportunities for hands-on learning, both inside and outside the classroom.
Yeah, you certainly just can't underestimate the importance of that professor-student connection. So that's so important. What about you, Megan? What sets Kelley apart?
Sure. So I think the curriculum design is something pretty special that I find relieves a lot of students once they learn about it. For every single major that we offer, students take exactly the same first 2 years of courses, because there's some stuff that we think is just really necessary, right? Like you need to become an expert in Excel and Access, and you need to understand how globalization impacts business on a day-to-day basis, right? Like nobody knew what supply chain was until about 5 months ago, right? When everybody started talking about supply chain. But we're going to make sure that you are aware of all of those different aspects of business as a part of that curriculum itself. And what it does is also buy you some time. So if you know you're really interested in business, but you don't know what area, we're going to get you exposed to all of them. We've also threaded the career development through the entire curriculum. So the way it works in the first year is that you take a course that helps you develop your sense of self. Essentially, for any of the family members who might be listening in the background, it's basically like designing your personal brand or your elevator pitch, right? That's the translation to people my age. But we want students to be able to talk about that both virtually and in person. So they also are creating a perfected LinkedIn profile as one of the assignments. They're doing some values clarification. And that is something that they can go back and reflect on throughout their experience. And I think it's really helpful. I had a student who came to see me. I think he's actually graduating this year, quite frankly. And he came in to visit in his first semester at the school, right before he'd had this class. And he said, I'm just really excited. I want to go out and be really successful and make a lot of money. And I just think it's going to be really cool. And I'm really thrilled about it. And I said, that sounds great. Okay. If that's your goal, go for it. And he comes back, right, in the second semester, towards the end of the semester, he says, Megan, I just want to help people. And I thought, we're probably doing our job here now, right? Like we had really helped him tap into what is really important to him, in that process. And I'm all for folks finding financial security and wealth building. So that's an incredibly important part of some people's lives and what their experiences are and what they're bringing to this. Like that is their goal in this process. I get it. I totally get it. But we also want you to tap into what is your true heart's desire in terms of what you want to study and who you want to become, right? So we'll get you on the right road. The second year of that course focuses on teamwork specifically, and that's when you're doing some of the more traditional pieces like the resume and cover letter. And the third year focuses on professionalism. So we're not having any student get to that junior year and think, oh my gosh, I have to get a resume together. I have to think about how to present myself to the world. Like they have been doing it all along. Right. So it's just second nature to them. And I think that's why our alumni tell us that our students are really excellent and sophisticated at interacting with folks. They really do a good job of interacting with folks who are higher up in the company with them because they've thought about things and they're very intentional with their work. The other piece I think is a real gem for us is our Jellison Living Learning Center. It's a residential community, business community for first year students. And that's a really cool opportunity to make a larger campus feel a little bit smaller and to give these students some very, very intensive onboarding experiences with meeting alumni, networking. They take some leadership classes within the community. They do some field trips. It's a pretty cool, immersive experience for that first year alone.
Yeah, very good. I have a question from a student here that just chimed in, which I think is important. So we'll go ahead and get that question in before we move on, because I think it's a good one. So Chanel, we'll start with you. Our high school doesn't offer business classes. What does your school look for as far as exposure to the business world?
Absolutely. That is okay. We know that high school experiences are quite diverse. And so we don't require students to have prior exposure to business when they are coming to Miami. When you apply to the farmer school, you'll select that you want to pursue business and you'll be considered for direct admission. So we're really looking for students with a rigorous academic high school experience. So if your school, offers business courses, that's fine. But if they don't, that's okay too. We want you to select those academically rigorous courses, continue to make progress in your math, your English, making good progress in those requirements. And then we're also looking for students, in addition to the academic components, who have that well-rounded experience. And so when we're reviewing candidates for admission to business, we are looking for that holistic review. Certainly, the academic profile, GPA is a factor as well, but we really don't expect students to have that business experience in the high school level. You're going to come to the farmer school and you're going to take the business core. So you're going to sample all of the areas in the farmer school before you have to decide what major you want to pursue anyway. And we've got career development and career exploration courses that are going to help with that as well, very similar to Kelley. So we're going to help you with that every single step of the way. And you're going to have a professional advisor that you're going to work with who's going to support you throughout your time as well.
Very good. What about at Kelley, Megan?
My response to our school doesn't offer business classes is great. That means that we get to be the first, right? We get to introduce you to it and we get to show you and pull the curtain back on all of these really cool and amazing things. And we're going to help you do it, not just in the classroom, because I do think there's an inherent amount of pressure from being in a classroom and being afraid to say the wrong thing, or, you don't want to look silly in front of a faculty member. One, they love the questions. That's why they're teaching, right? But we also want to make sure that students absorb that information. So we have copies of the Wall Street Journal laying around the school, right? They get access to the New York Times through being a student at IU. They are going to get immersed in opportunities and stories from alumni and from corporate partners through student organizations and networking nights. All of these things are going to provide them with a chance to view what it is that they might be interested in. So we're all going to start everybody from zero and not presume that they know something already. We're going to walk you through the whole thing, because even if you're a grade A expert, I'd be willing to bet we've got something we can teach you.
Yes, very good. I think we may have covered this next question a little bit in that student question. But are your programs direct admit, or do they apply to the business school separately? And if so, are there different criteria? Go ahead, Megan.
Sure. So we actually have both of those processes. The very first thing ever is that a student applies to IU, no matter what. They got to apply to Indiana University. And then if they meet certain set criteria that we publish every August, the beginning of every August, then they can be offered direct admission automatically. Right. Okay. If they know, looking at our website, they don't meet those criteria, then they can submit a request for us to look further at their information. And that's the petition form. Even beyond that, students can come on campus, take the exact same classes for the first semester, and then apply for admission at the beginning of the sophomore year.
Oh, okay. What are some of those criteria?
Sure. So they have to complete the 20.5 credit hours that we require in that very first year, which includes things like basic accounting, English composition, the Kelley Compass 1 course, all of these different pieces. And then if they achieve B's and above in every single one of the classes that they've taken at Indiana University, and that includes their electives too, right? Then they're going to be automatically admitted to the school at the beginning of the sophomore year as well. So we try to make it super transparent, super easy for folks to understand what they need to do. If a student gets a B- or a C+, it doesn't mean they won't get in. It just means that they're going to undergo a comprehensive review. And through that standard admission process, we're going to bring in around 500 to 600 students a year. And through direct admission, we bring in around 2,500.
Okay, great. What about at Farmer?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are primarily direct admit. So we have about 4,500 total students in the Farmer School. And we admit most of our first year students through the direct admit process. So students who are not offered direct admission can still apply to the Farmer School in their sophomore year. So when you apply to Miami University, you'll select that you want a business major, and then you will be considered for direct admission to the Farmer School. We admit around 1,200 first-year students through the direct admit process per year. And then for those students who didn't apply or weren't directly admitted, they can still seek admission as a current Miami University student. They need 30 hours, so about 2 semesters, a 3.5 GPA in Miami Plan Foundation, which is our foundation for liberal education and business courses, and then completion of calculus or business calculus and microeconomics. We will admit all students who meet those admission criteria.
Great. Well, what advice do each of you have for parents and how to balance supporting their student in the process and letting the student guide the process? Chanel, go ahead.
Absolutely. As a student, we know that the choice is really tough, but as a parent, it can be really difficult to help your student and support them. And we know that this is a transition for you as well. So first, I would say visit campus. I think you'll get a sense for the campus feel, the community, and where your student will spend home for the next 4 years. So if you have the opportunity, I definitely encourage that. A lot of students are really thinking about that fit and feel. Is this the place I can see myself calling home? Walking through the halls of the farmer school, sitting in the Forsyth Commons, and really just feeling that sense of community. And for families, they're looking at facts and figures. So if you get the chance to come for that campus visit, we'll give you all the details on the facts and figures and answer all of your questions. So for families, really encourage your students. And really, I hope that the student will reflect on their values, their experiences, and what kind of undergraduate education do you want to have? What do you want to get out of the experience? So we want students who are going to come in and are going to invest deeply in their undergraduate experience and are going to dive, headfirst into the farmer school experience. And so we hope that that's you. And ultimately, we want you to choose the school that's going to be a great fit for you. We have a 93% retention rate for first to second year. So we know that students who come here really love it and are really excited about their experience. And sometimes students, really struggle with that choice. And I think the campus visit is a great way to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Megan.
I've been doing a really fun thing lately because my contemporaries over the last few years have all had college age going young people and their families, right? So like friends of mine from high school are just kind of calling off the cuff and saying like, hey, can you walk me through this? So a few of them I've gotten a chance to know really well as juniors in high school. And I would say that, the one thing is to just start somewhere. Right? Like pick either a ranking body or pick a particular major program or pick a particular geographic area of the country or pick a particular career that you want to pursue. And then start looking at a number of schools through that lens and maybe start with a list of 10, and then bring it down to 7 and then go to 5 and then kind of narrow in on those 3. And one of the things that I think is really tough about this process is that all of us, all these schools, we all call everything something different, right? So like what's direct admission at one school is preferred admission at another, like it's just really confusing, right? So you have to kind of keep asking people, what is the noun that you use for this set of words, right? When you put those together, just to kind of get those pieces all lined up for yourself. The other thing is to recognize that if you've done your homework in the beginning and you have a solid list of schools that you're operating from, you're not going to make a mistake. And in the end, in terms of your lifetime of happiness, you're not going to mess up. All of these schools are excellent and it's going to be okay. It's really going to be okay. And if you end up in an academic program and then you get out and you work 2 or 3 years, then you can go back and do an MBA. Right? If you want to make a shift or do a graduate degree in, something else. I just wrote letters of recommendation for a student of ours who graduated maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And he's going back to do graduate work in social work because he is really, really invested in that. And so I believe that one of the things we do well is help students trust themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple of more great student questions, so I'm going to get to those too, and we'll stick with you, Megan. So are students able to take any courses over the summer at like a community college that could apply to their business core requirements? And does your school have an honors program?
Sure. So there are a handful of courses that students can take that will count towards those 20.5 credit hours of the first year. They currently include our finite mathematics, calculus, and English composition. But none of the business courses are the ones that we want to take you to take elsewhere because in business language, they're proprietary. Right. Yeah. We want you to learn our way of teaching business and the kinds of skill sets that we want, because in the end, when we have a recruiter coming in or an employer who's looking for students, we want to be able to tell them every Kelley student is going to be able to do this. Right. And then it's up to that student to figure out what are the areas of their special skills and their development. So some of our students choose to really challenge themselves during their time here. And that's what our Kelley Business Honors Program is about. They want to take everything up a level. And the piece I love so much about the business honors program that we have is that it starts the sophomore year, and entrance is based entirely on their performance at IU Bloomington in the first year. So you can come in and have really maybe struggled during some period of time in high school. And so maybe you're not eligible outright for the campus honors program, but you can bust it during that first year and then join the Kelley Business Honors Program, right? And I think that's really great. Like, what a great way to give folks another starting point to jump off to something really special.
Yeah, absolutely. What about at Farmer, Chanel?
Yeah, so we do accept advanced placement, college credit plus, dual enrollment credit, transfer credit. That's no problem. So there's a website called transferology.com, which shows how course equivalencies would apply. If you have any questions, just give us a call. We'll be happy to help walk you through that. We do certainly encourage students to take their major coursework here. For their business degree, we want you to make sure you have a solid foundation as you are moving into the upper level business courses. So be sure to touch base with us and we'll be happy to walk you through that process.
Right.
In terms of business honors, we do have a business honors program. It is a cohort-based program, and students apply for that in the spring of their first year. And then they'll move through the business core classes. So all of those kind of foundational business courses together as a cohort through the business honors cohort. And then they'll get to engage in some additional unique experiences like undergraduate research. So some really specialized opportunities with the business honors program. And that application also is in the second semester of the first year.
Very good. Thank you for those questions. We'll try to get to some of the others in just a bit. Chanel, we'll go back to our pre-planned questions. And can you tell us about the career outcomes of your, the career outcomes of your students are, of course, quite varied. Can you give us the idea of that diversity?
Absolutely. So farmer school students do very well in terms of placement. They place with employers all over the country. And we have students who come to the farmer school from all over. So we know in some ways that's industry driven. So for students who may be looking at select certain careers, those may be more focused in New York or San Francisco. And we have students who are placed there. We know students may be looking for international placement, and we've placed students abroad. So we do have more details about our placement for each of our majors on our website, but they're very diverse. And we encourage students to have a lot of great experiences with their internships. Most of our students do a couple of internships during their time here, and then we'll go work full-time after graduation. Really great starting salaries, and the return on investment many years after is really incredible for farmer students. We have a vast Miami alumni network, and it seems like you wear that red M and you see Miami alumni all over. So I was traveling to Atlanta a couple weeks ago, and I had my red Miami pin on, and I saw someone and they just stopped me and said, "Oh, are you from Miami University?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." So you meet Miami alum all over the world and all over the country. And we have just incredible alumni network who are really thrilled to give back. So a lot of growth in, industries like fintech and cyber, of course, but then, great placement in some of our, employers that we've worked with closely for many, many years. And our students will get that client-based experience in the very first year with really big companies that they're working with for that client-based project, Fortune 500 companies. So they're going to have that to talk about in interviews from their very first semester on campus.
Very good. And what about Kelley, Megan?
Absolutely. I'm so sorry, Christy. I was trying to find some data here. Can you repeat the question for me?
Yeah, of course. The careers outcomes of your students are quite varied. Just give us an idea of that diversity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love to talk about the career stuff, right? Because it's really, really cool to see how they develop these over time. I think, our approach has shifted over time. And right now, I think we're in that phase where we're helping them figure out what it is that they want to do for the first 2 to 5 years after they graduate. But beyond that, just give them the skills, right? Give them the skills and the confidence to go find what it is that they really want. So we will have, just like any other business school, right? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies who will come and interact with students and want to engage with them. What we've seen most recently is that companies are really interested in the kind of niche specialties that our students can pick up, like the co-major in business analytics, the co-major in digital technology management and digital social media business applications. Those kinds of things, I think, make a really big difference. We're always going to have the traditional stalwart business degrees of accounting and finance and marketing and management, but it's these niche programs that I think are really important to giving students that edge. So in terms of career outcomes, when you talk to the students, they're kind of focused on what the work might be as opposed to where it might be, but the families are typically focused on where it will be at that point. And we routinely, I've been with Kelley since 2008, and we have routinely placed students in the same top 3 cities over and over and over again in terms of the largest bulk of that graduating class. And every single year it's Chicago, Indianapolis, Indiana, and New York City, like over and over and over again. Those are the top 3. And the 4th place spot bounces around, right? Like Austin, Texas, or San Francisco, or Cincinnati, or Milwaukee, Atlanta. It just kind of depends on the year. But what we're trying to help students understand is if there is an area of the country they want to go in, we can help you understand how to introduce that conversation and then have that conversation so that your recruiter knows, like, oh, they really want to explore this area. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah. We have one more question from our students. You might not have the data right in front of you, but can you give us a sense of, the number of students in each grade cohort, and also how many transfer students come in a typical year? Absolutely. If you don't have that, I understand it's not right in front of you.
I'll keep talking, Chanel. So if you don't have, you have it probably memorized though. So knowing Chanel, so she has it memorized. But the way that we're going to build a class every year is that we're going to bring in around 2,500 students through our direct admission program, right? And we have a high retention throughout the program. So those students are going to stick with us for the most part, right? Then we will add anywhere from 500 to 600 students to that group who are coming through our standard admission process. And that is where our traditional transfer students fold into the school, is through that piece. And I would say that out of any standard admission class, there are probably going to be maybe 175 to 200 transfer students in there, primarily international. So students are going to be transferring in at that point, but we will also see a lot of domestic international students as a part of that component as well. So I hope that understands. Transfer is such a tricky term, right? So, but if you're talking about entering the school and how that works out, then we're talking roughly around 3,000 students per class. And if that doesn't help, Laura, write the question back again and we'll try to answer it better.
What about,
So we have about 1,200 students who are direct admits in our first year class, and then we bring in just a couple hundred students as current Miami University students who seek admission to the farmer school. Although we will admit all students who meet our stated admission criteria for intra-university transfer. And yes, very high retention, very high graduation rates. We really help support our students and have a lot of programs to help them along the way to be academically successful and also personally successful. If COVID has taught us anything, it's really that we want to focus on the mental health and well-being of our students. And so a lot of support here at Miami for student success.
Great. While you're here, Laura also wanted to know about the top cities for placement for Miami. Do you know those off the top of your head?
Yeah, so we certainly place a lot of students within 8 hours driving distance of Oxford, Ohio, but we definitely have students who work coast to coast and international placements. We have more specific data on our website about those placements on our FSB careers page, and I can drop a link to that in the chat.
Thank you so much. I have one more question for you, and then if we have any other student questions, we'll get back to them. What advice do you have for students and parents in finding the right fit and making the decision about which program to select? I know that Megan had some good advice for that earlier, but Chanel, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so, it is a really tough choice. We know you're going to tour a lot of great business schools and you're going to have a lot of really wonderful experiences. We think that the distinguishing characteristics of the farmer school are really what are going to make a difference and what are going to, kind of help you here. But of course, there are lots of great business schools out there. So you're going to try to explore those opportunities when you go on campus, visit with them, talk with the faculty. These are the people that you're going to be in classes with who are going to be helping you to grow and learn. And not only do the faculty help you academically, but they're going to help you grow personally and professionally. Like the faculty member who took a picture of the senior and, sent it to her and said, "I'm so proud of you," who had cultivated that relationship over 4 years. So think about those types of relationships. Talk with the faculty that you're going to be in classes with. There's a lot of great academic programs. A benefit is that you can kind of customize your own experience. And we have most farmer school students will do a second major or a minor, either inside or outside the farmer school. And so, that's a unique opportunity. So ask those questions. And if you don't know what you want to do, you've got plenty of time to decide. Go ahead and apply to a lot of great schools and talk with the individuals that are there. Look more at the alumni. The LinkedIn alumni tool is a fantastic way to explore, some of the industries and careers that those individuals are working in. And we're going to help you grow every step of the way. And I think that you, as Megan said, you can't make a wrong decision here. And you're going to kind of go with that fit and feel. And your family's going to help you decipher those facts and figures.
What would you add, Megan?
I think I would throw into that mix too is that because of what we've all been experiencing over these last couple of years, schools have really ramped up their virtual offerings. And so if you're sitting here and you're an international student and you can't get to the US to visit, or you know that your academic schedule is not going to permit you to get away to get to that campus, but you still want to get a feel for it, go ahead and sign up for some of those virtual opportunities. So I will know, because I've been coaching with some of these young people, that a lot of schools don't yet have their summertime schedules up yet, right, for visits. And so if you're sitting here and you're a junior, you're like, I tried to sign up and there was nothing available. Be patient, right? Slow your roll. We're going to get to you. So, and in about another month or so, there'll be plenty of opportunities to get signed up for those virtual experiences. So I think those are pretty great. Also know that the architecture of the website, right, the way it's designed, it isn't going to be the same for every school. So some schools are going to make sure that they prioritize putting the deadlines out there. Some schools are going to prioritize putting the culture out there. And that may provide some value to you in terms of evaluating what you think is important to that. But I think more so, you have to stay flexible in this process, right? You have to stay flexible in terms of how you're learning, but do seek out those deadlines and make sure you're looking at the right ones for what you really want, right? If you're looking at a super selective school and they have an early decision process and you see that their deadline is there, but then maybe the regular decision deadline is here, or their early action, get a handle on those terms so that that doesn't throw you off your game. And you know exactly what you're looking for when you get to that website. The other piece, there are no dumb questions. I kid you not, there really aren't. And we are not taking notes on who is asking any questions in these sessions right now. I can guarantee it. We're doing too many of them, and you all have too many great questions for us to sit and make a note every time and say, oh, well, Laura asked about this thing, and Keenan asked about this, so we're going to make. No, you're going to have to remind us that we talked before. Okay. And it's not because we don't love and embrace your experience, but our main goal is to make sure that you get the information that you need. So ask the daggone question. Yeah. Ask it.
Yeah, I think we all need to be reminded of that sometimes, even in the professional world, right? We do have one more question from Keenan. We'll have to keep it short, but I'll give you both a quick chance. So I have a choice of AP Calculus, more general, or AP Statistics, more specific for senior year. Do you see one being stronger than the other from an application standpoint? Megan, go ahead.
Yep. In terms of the application standpoint, not necessarily. In terms of what will be most helpful to you in the Kelley degree, it's AP Calculus by a long shot. So, and getting that 4 or 5 on the AP exam is going to mean that you're not going to sit in a calculus course here in Bloomington.
Yeah.
So by all means, that's a great way to get prepared. And if you get lower than that, then you've got great experience to bring right into that classroom in the fall so that you can knock an A out in that class.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Chanel?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the calculus course, I would agree with Megan, is a great option. So feel free to jump right into that. And we hope that you'll get that AP credit for it.
That's great. Well, thank you all. And thank you for all the great student questions. We really like when that happens. And that's about all the time we have. But please, follow us and join into our other admission panelists and our other discussions with school officials. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.